But I think it's time to get into the review of Triangle Strategy, the recent Square Enix banger that we've been waiting for so long.
Wait, Square Enix. Square Enix Triangle Strategy.
Yep.
Is there anything there?
That's a good point. I really didn't think about it.
Sorry.
Hey, no, you got me thinking, bro.
I don't know either. I thought that triangles would have something to do with the gameplay, but maybe I'm missing exactly how like that would be.
Initially diving in, I was like, okay, the triangle is like the three factions.
Okay.
Three big factions. I mean, that's just the way I saw it.
That makes sense.
And it also could be representative of the three. You get like three options for every scenario.
That's true too.
You know what I mean?
That's very true. Three dialogue choices.
So
yeah.
There's a triangle of paths you can go, you know?
Interesting.
Yeah, I want to see how the conviction thing builds, but it's hard to know even where to begin with this game because everything about it is nothing
unique.
short of perfection.
Yeah. I explained it to someone earlier today, actually, as it's got sort of the political and story aspects of a Fire Emblem game with the gameplay mechanics of a Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yep, and the difficulty is just there enough to where you have to be good enough to do it.
I haven't told you about this, but let me lay it down for you, Sterling. I was like, you know me, I'm always looking to challenge myself, right? That's my biggest thing that like keeps gaming entertaining for me is like imposing extremely hard challenges on myself. So I purchased Triangle Strategy. I launch it for the first time, go in, start a new save file. It asks me the difficulty. I'm like, hard. Let's go. Did not go well.
Not happening.
I did not beat the first battle. I lost it. I lost it like 2 or 3 times. I was like, this is not what I need. Like I need to step it back a difficulty. So I actually started a new save file again. I was in the first battle, so it was fine.
Yeah.
And picked normal and it was fine from there. I haven't had too much trouble. I don't think I've actually lost a battle. Maybe one. I can't remember. There may be one I had to retry so far. Maybe not. I can't remember.
There was one. I'm on chapter 7, and there was one the whole game that I just needed to rework my starting layout,
Definitely.
and it was like it was cake.
But you're right.
My bad habit is I'll usually just start wherever they're at and say like I'm rocking it. You know what I'm saying? I don't put a lot of thought into placing my units ahead of time, which I probably should, of course.
Well, and the further you get into it, the more you start to understand the strengths and weaknesses, right? And where, like, oh, I want to hit and run with this character. I don't want to finish in range, right? So I'm going to hold them back, wait for them to come to me.
And you kind of have to squad everybody a certain way.
Definitely. You have to group some tanky people with some, like, squishy people to try and keep them from dying. Like if you put all the squishy people together, they're just going to get absolutely wrecked. Because if you put like Frederica in front of like 3 or 4 guys unprotected by anybody, it's done. Right? She's gone. And so a lot of the strategy of the game is on display with that, and I really, really like that.
There's a lot about this game I like. I'm just going to be upfront with you, man.
Definitely.
One thing that shocked me, just not pertaining to any particular category of a review, but, you know, first of all, I got to play this game alongside Octopath because my girl's actually been playing Octopath.
That's pretty special.
Actively. I'm talking about like on the 4th character. Yeah.
Yeah.
So looking at it is shocking. And, you know, I'm so used to Octopath and that HD 2D. It took me a minute to realize you can rotate the camera, Tyler. And
not only that, but you can flick the stick to rotate it 90 degrees.
It's just unbelievable.
Yeah. Because the camera, once you realize that, it takes some getting used to. I'm sure you'll agree with me there. Like, getting the camera positioned in a way that is useful can be difficult.
But I agree, but it's in some instances, but at the same time, the way the graphics adjust and kind of blend for you to view is almost a beautiful thing in itself.
I didn't mean that necessarily in a detrimental way. There's a lot of, it gives you a lot of control over the camera, more than you would ever expect. And that is what I mean. Like it's so much control that you really have to make it look how you want it.
Yeah. I really do think I could confidently say this is probably my favorite visual representation, like in a video game. I think this is my favorite graphical appearance.
Graphics.
I mean, I don't know how to put. Yeah, just simply put.
That's awesome.
It's amazing. Dude. It's just the best blend of 3D and 2D. And when you put it next to Octopath, man, we thought Octopath was beautiful, and it was. It still is. But they really are cranking it up. I mean, you have got to agree with me on the triangle strategy being like a HD version of the HD they were doing then.
Yeah, it's like they call it 2D, but it's not. It's not 2D at all.
It's like 2D sprites on like a 3D, beautifully kind of voxely environment.
Yeah, it's 2D in style only.
And they do this so much. Square Enix with the collision of background and characters, like with Bravely Default 2. And Bravely Default, just the first one on the 3DS, that's the first thing I thought was, this is beautiful how these 3D character models are on these like static hand-drawn environments. And when you say that, you don't think it would be so immersive, but it's all traversable and open and 3D. Mm-hmm. So they just know how to blend styles.
Yeah,
to make a whole new vibe. Definitely. And I love it. The audio, I can't say enough about. I mean, the music is
top notch.
I mean, it's top notch.
It's what you would expect from a Square Enix AAA title.
Yep.
It's as good as any Final Fantasy game, in my opinion.
And the voice acting is just as okay as it needs to be.
I like the voice acting.
I like the voice acting,
I think that's
too.
A good description of it, though, because it's not... It still feels like Square Enix, right?
Yeah.
It has that light, tiny little touch of cheese, right? Just that 5% dash of cheesiness and like over the topness with the voice performances.
Nothing
and I
new
love
to
that.
us.
I love that.
And that's why, because we feel right at home.
Definitely.
Yeah,
I mean, we come from the Resident Evil universe, right? Where that is like the only redeeming factor about the voice acting is how good and cheesy it is.
Yeah, we come from the land of the bad English dub.
Yeah.
The Wild West,
Absolutely.
So, the voice acting, the music, the audio design, excellent. They kind of go there. We were talking about that, even you saw one of the bloodier scenes that's happened so far. When you see this representation of the characters, you might think off top, oh, it's sprites, it's, whatever. He kind of, when your boy got murdered in the mine you were talking about.
Oh,
Dragan, that's what it was.
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
Sneaky boy. Oh, I'm so sorry for anybody who didn't, but hey, you should be that far in the game if you're a triangle strategy fan, man.
It's really not that far into the game.
It was pretty visceral though, the way they kind of showed him bleed out, and they say a lot of pretty visceral things in the game, which is nice. It's nice to, this is like we're taking the kid gloves off, and it kind of makes the story's pretty serious. I felt pretty invested in just about all the story that has happened.
Definitely.
You kind of start developing your own, kind of like I wanted to declare war on Hyzant personally. That's where I've been, because I'm like, this disrespect to my wife is not going to cut it.
Where did you go? Did you go to Hyzant or did you go to the other one, Aesfrost?
I went to Hyzant.
I did too.
Because that's where Frederica wanted to go.
Yep.
So I said, you know what? We're going there. And I kind of regret going there. But then again, it was insightful. But I think it's a terrible place.
It
personally.
is.
I think they're very, their treatment of people that are different than their own are kind of, pretty disgusting to me. And that's where a lot of the emotion for me came in with the game.
Mm-hmm.
Because, it's like, it's strange. I mean, you're getting set up. You're like this arranged marriage, right? But that's not to say that there isn't anything there.
No.
So you just kind of start taking things to heart. You're thinking, okay, this is supposed to be your wife. So, okay, therefore, the disrespect is blatant, man.
There's elements that mirror things that take place in the real world without getting into anything specific. Like, it's
oppressive real life things.
Absolutely. And that, it's clear they're drawing inspiration on people's feelings that have really suffered, in ways like this, having entire sort of races or subsets of people, not being equal, that's been a repeated story throughout human history.
Yeah,
and
persecution of groups.
Definitely.
It's rooted in reality. So for them to put it in the story and have it be a central theme, it only invests you more, in my opinion.
Absolutely. So I've been loving the game, man. The story's engaging. It really didn't take me long for me to be really invested in the story, which is saying a lot.
Definitely, without a doubt.
I don't just automatically feel immersed in the story of every game I play these days. It's in the first.
Sometimes it takes some getting into it
in the first 10 minutes, but this game really it gets you there pretty quickly, and it does a good job of telling the story and building the world at the same time, which I really enjoy.
And I love the encampment feature.
I do too.
That's such a cozy little thing, just to have your own little home base to go to.
I find myself going there all the time.
Me too.
I try to do all of the mental battles as soon as I can.
Yep. I always go check, because they'll immediately be like, oh, we need your help with something.
And they give pretty decent experience, which early in the game is pretty important. Like, getting your characters the first few levels makes a big difference.
Definitely, dude. And I haven't had any issue yet where I was like under leveled, because I guess I'm like you. Any battle that's available, I'm trying to do it.
Absolutely.
And that's pretty much what's on the overworld and what's in the encampment. So as long as you stay up on the encampment, in between pivotal events, you'll get more content.
Yep.
At the tavern or whatever,
Yep, and I'm trying to collect every sub character that I can when they unlock the character stories. I was on that.
As soon as that pops up, that's
a no-brainer. And every single mission I clear, I'm pressing the directional button to see if there's a green mission, right, where it's looking in elsewhere in the kingdom.
I've spent so much time scrolling the world map just to make sure there isn't anything. But most of the time, to save people some time, it's in range of the main story.
You can actually press like left or right on the D-pad or on the stick, and it'll like kind of jump between them if there's another menu option.
Cool. That's good to know. I feel like an idiot, but I'll tell you what, I don't regret it though, because that overworld it's really beautiful. Something.
It doesn't take anything to zoom out and look at the map.
Yeah, depending on in between story events, it seems like certain parts of it get covered and certain parts are visible. It's kind of cool. It doesn't seem like it's a consistently unlocking map like most RPGs are, kind of like as you unlock the map and explore more as you go. This is more, here's all of it, here's the part involved at the moment. You know,
it reminded me a lot of FF7, where the first part of FF7 you're spending in one big part, right, in Midgar. And then, you know, as you complete that, that's when you sort of unlock a little bit more branching exploration.
Yeah.
I'm getting a similar vibe that's going to be what happens here, because, you know, you really only have like the first kingdom that you're bouncing back and forth, but I have a feeling there's going to be quite a lot more that you can do decision wise later in the game.
Yeah, and dude, I gotta say, one of the most appealing things about this game is the exploration mode.
Definitely. It gave me instantaneous like Golden Sun, Chrono Trigger, even like Link to the Past, where you're just going into these places like and just talking to people. That is one of the best parts of any RPG. Is just
looking for the little twinkles, the secret
world.
items. It brings me back to like, you know, FF3 and just the old, just quality Square Enix content we've been getting for decades, you know.
And so many of the NPCs give you information. Like there's an information gathering mechanic where information you gather in the exploration mode gives you more options for choices later. So that is enough to motivate you to track down every living creature that you can find in these explorations and
I can
hunt them
guarantee
down and talk to them.
I haven't missed a single one because I'm very thorough when it comes to exploration mode. I'm ending it when everything is gone.
Done. No twinkles. Every person's talked to at least twice. Like, yep.
There's no new dialogue to be had. Let's move on.
Yep. So,
but I found it interesting. Some of the settings that you explore in. That was pretty cool. The one on the bridge.
Right before when you're running away or like or you're sneaking into the castle.
Yeah, did you play that yet?
Yeah, where you're sneaking into the castle and it's got the two ladders on either side.
Yeah. That was cool. How you can like ladder down and rotate the camera.
I'm right about there. That's about where I am.
Yeah, that was really some of the spots. But obviously, they want you to trigger some dialogue and make some decisions at certain points. But some are really explorable, and then some of them are really scaled down. Just the area to talk to people with an item or two. You know.
Yep.
Maybe no items.
But it's nice. It's very nice. But it's
cool that they throw it in frequently. And that was kind of like what they did on Fire Emblem Three Houses, where exploration mode was like around the school. But in this instance, it's not the same open area every time. It's a completely new environment.
Yeah. And it's...
and I'm a sucker for it, dude.
Almost every place that you explore ends up being a place that you later fight. So that is really fun as well. Because you kind of already know what the terrain is like by the time you actually fight there.
Yeah, and it's funny because when I was playing the demo, I had beaten the demo 2 days before it released, I believe. And when I was playing the demo, I'm like, man, I kind of like the hoppy physics he got going on here, where he could kind of like certain objects inside the houses he could walk up on, you know. Like when you're playing as Saranoa, and I'm like, that's kind of like how the terrain is. There's a certain amount of height that you can't walk up,
and it takes some getting used to.
Yeah, but it's really cool though. But in battle, that's probably why Huette's like the best to me, because she's insane. Everybody else's jumps like 3, hers is like 36. She can go any length, you know, above wherever. Of course, it would be overpowered to have multiple units like that.
But, you know, there's a lot of game to go. I'm sure we'll continue unlocking units as we go with different traits and everything.
Definitely.
But yeah, I agree. I think that's what every time I get to a battle sequence, it's just like, I'm like giddy. Like I'm so excited to fight the battle. Like
me too, dude.
And the game, it's so good about metering these battles out, because you go story, exploration, story, battle. Like
I'm gonna be honest with you. There is a heavy amount of story in some cases in between actual battles.
Absolutely.
There might be 4 like cutscene triggered
Missions,
overworld options before you actually get to a combat sequence.
With exploration involved as well.
Yep. I don't mind that one single bit.
I don't mind it, but
it really
it's
makes
very
me savor
smart.
the combat. And that's how I felt about Three Houses. Whenever my girl was playing it and I dove into it a little bit, I was like, the elements of this really open the game up and make it more, there's just more to do. Mm-hmm. You're not doing battle after battle after battle, which a lot of games like Wargroove, great game, but it is just battle after battle with some cutscenes in between. But having, an exploration mode mixed with, any type of bonus variety mode, mm-hmm. They kind of found a balance here. Because whenever you're playing these RPGs, I want a bunch of story. That's like Definitely. The heart and soul of these games.
That's what we've come to expect.
Even if there's been countless about 3 heroes and a crystal, 4 heroes in the crystal.
Yeah,
I don't care, man. I'm into that.
They keep finding new ways to make it interesting. So props to Square Enix for this one, man.
This is a very grown up game. Not in the way that you might think off top, grown up as in the content, but I just feel like this is like a really. It's a grown up Square Enix.
It's like
it just shows how they've grown with Final Fantasy.
Definitely, it feels very refined.
Very refined, and I can't wait to see numbers on this. I haven't really looked into it too much, but I really would love to see this perform. And I feel like these games perform well, more than well, in the East, in Japan. I mean, these are I just hope that the West is putting in that love.
Definitely.
Which I'm sure they are. I mean, most of these Square Enix titles are very successful.
It's interesting to see Square Enix sort of having this relationship with Nintendo, right? It started with Octopath, but we've talked about this quite a lot in the past. So I don't want to get too far into it, but the fact that they worked exclusively with Nintendo, now that's not to say Triangle Strategy won't come to PC. I'm sure it will. At least Octopath did along the line. So
Bravely Default too.
Exactly. So I imagine this will follow the same strategy there, but I have no issue with that, of course. But I think that's very interesting that for so long, Square Enix was Sony console only. That's what they're doing, right? We're not, maybe a Game Boy game here or there. And, they did stuff on the, older Nintendo consoles. But for a long time, those core Final Fantasy games that we love, that was Sony. And you couldn't get them anywhere else.
Even as recent as Final Fantasy 16. That's an exclusive Sony.
But Sony, I mean, as far as I know, there's no plans to bring Triangle Strategy over to PlayStation either. So I find that really unique.
Definitely. And it seems like with Nintendo, it's these ones we're talking about. They seem to be doing the same font type of not series, but family. Mm-hmm. The Octopath, Bravely Default, Triangle Strategy family all start out as Nintendo Switch exclusives, mm-hmm. and then maybe a year later wind up on Steam. It's a bold move not to make Triangle Strategy available in the wake of the Steam Deck. That's dedication to a contract for sure.
Yeah, we'll have to see what the timeline on that.
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, Tyler. I wanted to ask you this after I say my answer, but I'm probably going to be repurchasing Triangle Strategy on the Steam Deck, and that'll be the first time I did this for any of these games. And made me think about the other ones, maybe catching them on that $30 sale. I didn't see a reason in doing it before, but for the sake of the deck, it makes me think differently. Now, how do you feel about all that?
I support it. Here's why. There's going to be an end to Triangle Strategy, and you can play through it again and maybe get some different content, right? Probably with different choices and stuff.
Pick everything you would have never picked, yeah.
But it seems like a game that is perfect for fan created content being made available through the Steam community, where people can add custom battles, enemies, that kind of thing into the game and have it be just the same quality as what you would get from Square Enix, you know, doing the same thing. That to me is very enticing. It's
enticing, but Square Enix, I don't know if they'd be about that. I think what you got's what you're going to get.
But I don't know. I mean, can games disallow mods from the community page and stuff?
I understand what you're saying. You're talking about on the workshop level.
100%.
That makes sense. Yeah, 100%. I mean, that makes sense. But at the same time, I don't think Square Enix would be the nicest when it comes to playing around with their assets. I don't know. Maybe that's just a wild guess.
I don't know. I mean, I know that a lot of games, for instance, Slay the Spire, I know it's an indie game and not Square Enix, but there's a insane amount of fan classes and cards and just new content that people make for the game. And so when I compare it against that, I don't know. We can go back and look at Octopath and see if people have put like custom scenarios on Steam. That's something interesting we can look into.
You're right. That is very interesting.
Yeah, I bet people have put custom scenarios and stuff for Octopath and, you know, custom boss battles and stuff, but I don't know. This is what we're going to have to educate ourselves on for this purpose of the Steam Deck, man. And just for
that's basically the features. That's the feature we yearn for in these types of games. And it's become a staple with these RTS games. I mean, Advance Wars 1 and 2, that's going to have it. Wargroove has it. Fire Emblem, not as much, but I mean, that only speaks to what I was saying about how, I don't know, you know, like with Fire Emblem, they might not want people playing around with their assets as much as perhaps an indie company that's like, yeah, make whatever you want, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll find out. Maybe we'll follow up to this thought next time or sometime.
Yeah.
Or try it out. But if that is a thing, that sounds really sweet. That's really where I was going with it. Like, if there is a possibility to get some custom boss battles and fights and characters, you know, like, to me, that seems awesome. And it seems like the Steam Deck would be a perfect way to implement that, and get some more longevity out of the game. Not that it's not going to have it in the first place.
Yeah, but the people are creative, man. We've seen that, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
They just recently added some new characters on Rivals of Aether. Not to veer off, but, you know, like, this is workshop content that they added to the actual base game. It's part of the game now.
That's,
you know?
Nice. That's not something we'd ever see from Square Enix, I don't think.
No, not at all. But that's community involvement. You love to see it.
Mm-hmm. There is a precedent for it, though. I mean, we did get that with Age of Empires, right? The game was around so long, and some fan-created content got so ingrained with the culture of the game that it actually got made into the re-releases of the game, which were created, produced, you know, designed by Microsoft. So I think that's, you know, definitely noteworthy. Like,
definitely, no question.
Yeah, and that sets an interesting precedent, especially when you consider that it's Microsoft. You know, that, to me, Microsoft publishing fan content, that's pretty interesting to me. So there is some precedent there, but that's a totally different tangent. Triangle Strategy, couldn't recommend it more. If you're a fan of tactics,
not possibly, yep.
If you're a fan of tactics and you've been craving that's just on the base level, it's worth it. You add in the Fire Emblem style, like, you know, story progression and dynamics, and just the incredible graphics and music. I mean, you've got a beautiful, beautiful RPG on your hands there. The battle, by the way, we haven't talked too much mechanically about the battle system, but it is very simple but quite elegant and very satisfying, very balanced.
Because, yeah, you're not rocking multiple of the same unit. Every single unit does its own thing entirely.
One of the things that I noticed in Octopath was that the battles could get stale because you kind of just beat them the same way every time, right? You know, when you're just your character versus random
Final
mobs.
Fantasy Pokemon effect, yeah.
Legit, exactly. Same thing as Pokemon. This is never going to be like that. Every battle is unique.
No.
Even if you were to replay the same battle again, it would play out completely differently.
Yeah, and the AI isn't completely stupid either. I mean,
Not at all.
They know when to take advantage of like a backstab and when to corner you, and
Very
that's
few
enough there.
times has the AI made a decision that I was very confused by. Overall, it seems like they're quite good.
Yeah, and they're also not in a big rush either. Which in the game, a lot of times you don't want to be in a big rush yourself. When I can, I started off bold, trying to go into the pink zone and start just going all out, and it worked out well for me. But at the same time, I started being like, you know what, I'm going to keep it at starting off. I'm going to keep it in the blue.
Yeah,
let them come to me. That's always the best option.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's kind of like they say, easy to pick up, difficult to master.
Exactly. That's a great way to describe it.
It wasn't too hard to master. And of course, I'm not playing on the highest difficulty.
And there's still more aspects that you probably haven't even seen yet.
Yep, and the game will obviously get more difficult. I don't think we're going to go through and crush every single battle.
Definitely not.
I remember Fire Emblem Three Houses being a little difficult. And being impressed with what my girl was doing on there, some of the time that these battles take. I actually like that Triangle Strategy the battles are very well paced.
Definitely.
Maybe 20 minutes, I'd say.
That's definitely what the longer side. Some of them are shorter, but a few of them definitely can be quite long, but you never feel, or at least I haven't really felt fatigued by that. Or like it was just grinding with no progression. Mm-hmm. Like you don't ever want to get into a situation where it's a stalemate, and I haven't really come across that.
I also love that you get experience for doing things.
For doing anything.
Not for killing enemies. I mean, you cast a buff on somebody, you get experience. If you use any ability.
If you use an item, you get EXP for that.
Yep. You throw a heal on somebody up like a potion, they're good to go.
Yeah,
and
I like that.
You get experience for it. I mean, I really like that. They give you experience based off of action and use.
It feels satisfying for sure, and it feels like the levels come quite quickly early in the game. I don't know if that will
quite quickly indeed.
Quite quickly indeed. I don't know if that's going to take longer the more you progress, but I'm sure it obviously will. But the progression feels very satisfying and balanced.
Yeah, because they don't have, like, we haven't done 30 battles, for example.
No, not even close.
The experience allotted is perfect for the pacing.
Definitely.
And the game's paced just so well. So, I mean, I couldn't recommend it more. I'm with you on that. I'm a huge fan of it. This is a Switch instant classic. I mean, what more can I say about it?
Definitely.
All the hype. I mean, like, we've been hyping this game up for a year now?
Mm-hmm. And since the start of this podcast.
Yeah, that was early on.
That was the very first Direct was when this game was very first announced and teased.
On the 3D All-Stars one? What?
Pretty sure. I think so. We'll have to go back and check the tape.
Yeah, that would be wild if it was some episode 1. That makes this pretty monumental, kind of like being on the visual.
Definitely.
Which you're looking great, by the way.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.